Thank you for coming out here this morning, almost afternoon, in rural, Helene-ravaged western North Carolina, a place to some outsiders that produces only backwards and uneducated folks who always vote against their own interest. We are here proving them wrong. Thanks for being here to show our community that we care about the future. Everyone's children, all immigrants, our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, unionized and ununionized workers, our Black and brown community members, our teachers, our military service members, the environment, and anyone whose life may be turned upside down by the wannabe dictator-in-chief. Your presence here today builds on a greater movement of people across the U.S., across the globe even, that is standing up to all feckless, immoral, greedy leaders who sow division, take what they want, and never face accountability for their actions. I am here, you are here, to change that narrative. Fortunately, we are not without playbooks, guides, and leaders in our fight against fascism because, unfortunately, this is a timeless, redundant, and tired human tale since the first scribe started recording history. That history has time and time again shown us that power in the hands of a few bad actors can corrupt and destroy even the greatest civilizations. We all know, though a certain ill-informed segment of our population has completely forgotten, that our nation was founded to end tyrannical governance by a king across the sea. Our founding fathers and mothers, whose stories of course were overlooked and lost in unwritten pages of our history, they weren't perfect. In fact, we know some of our founding fathers, most of them, owned other people, built their fortunes and legacies off the backs of people kidnapped from their native lands and forced to labor and toil without the ounce of dignity and freedom to which our Constitution swore to grant and uphold to all men. And we know that the American experiment would not have existed but for the extermination of millions of native peoples on this land. And yet, with every generation post-independence, the citizens of this country fight hard to gain new rights for all people, to acknowledge our country's shameful acts and set forth a new standard of decency and progress to improve the lives of those who will come after us. So what do we do? In the face of what seems like the inevitable dismantling of our democracy, what do we do when the man elected to run our country behaves like a dictator king, ceaselessly adding to his long list of sins, crimes, misdeeds, vices, and offenses? It apparently wasn't enough to be the only president in our history to have a mugshot. 34 felony convictions, 91 criminal charges, 26 sexual assault allegations, 6 bankruptcies, 5 draft deferments, and be the subject of 4 indictments, 2 impeachments, fraud settlements, sexual abuse verdicts, charity abuse judgments. Trump then had to start chipping away at our constitutional rights. By now we know he's trampled on the First Amendment, freedom of speech, by unlawfully detaining individuals for speaking in support of Gaza under the guise of an immigration issue. And the Fifth Amendment, the right to due process, by arresting people off the streets from their homes, their places of employment, and sending them off to detention centers inside and outside our borders without granting those individuals the right to defend themselves in court. In light of this never-ending list of Trump's transgressions, I recall a quote often ascribed to Thomas Jefferson. Tyranny is defined as that which is legal for the government, but illegal for the citizenry. You and I all know that if any one of us had committed just one of Trump's crimes at any point in our lives, we would have been held to account under the strictest version of law, especially if we were poor, Black, or brown. So I ask you again, what do? We fight. We fight like this by showing up in the streets. We fight by speaking out to our misguided friends and family, in person or on social media. We fight by contacting our representatives and telling them to do better. We fight by supporting causes important to us and our futures. Frederick Douglass, the stalwart leader of the African American civil rights movement of the 1800s, once said, "The problem is whether the American people have loyalty enough, honor enough, patriotism enough to live up to their own Constitution." So ask yourself, do you have the loyalty, honor, and patriotism to live up to the Constitution? Your presence here makes me think, yes, and I respect and admire you for it, but we must continue to uphold his legacy and the legacy of all the voices before us who put their lives on the line for what is right and good. So I ask you today to join me in reciting your own personal oath to our Constitution, the People's Oath. This oath begins with a repeat after me and ends with a fill in the blank. I will recite the oath and I will fill in the blank with my own thoughts. I do solemnly swear to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States to ensure the well-being of all vulnerable and targeted people, both on our shores and beyond. Think about why you personally want to uphold our Constitution. Is it for your kids, your community, the environment, the principles of democracy? Just a moment, when it's your turn, you say your reason out loud. And yes, this might sound odd with everyone saying different things at once, but speaking your reason out loud will help you remember why you're here. Why we must fight. I do solemnly swear to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States to ensure Yes, thank you so much for filling in your blanks. Remember those. Now that you've taken the oath, if you wonder what steps to take next, I urge you to follow at least some of the lessons laid out by author Timothy Snyder in his book on tyranny. Snyder offers 20 lessons for resisting tyranny and authoritarianism, and my time on the stage is too short to list them all, but I'll highlight my 3 favorites and perhaps the easiest lessons to apply. Number 1, do not obey in advance. Snyder notes that people living under authoritarian regimes often freely give their oppressors power, meaning in times like these when people think ahead about what a more repressive government will want, and then they offer up those actions for free without being asked or told to do so. For example, let me take you back pre-World War II. In March 1938, after Germany annexed Austria, Austrians who had clearly been duped by the Nazi propaganda took it upon themselves, without any government or military direction or order, to force their Jewish neighbors to scrub the streets while harassing, beating, and otherwise demoralizing them. Perhaps the perpetrators thought they'd be rewarded, remembered, treated better by their new fatherland for carrying out such horrible acts. But nevertheless, through these actions, those individuals who obeyed in advance empowered the Nazi regime to implement, mere months after these so-called scrubbing parties, acts that were previously unfathomable. Thus, just a few months later, on the infamous Night of Broken Glass, or Kristallnacht, nearly 100 Jews were murdered and around 30,000 Jewish men were arrested and sent to Nazi concentration camps. Lesson number 2, stand out. Someone has to. Going with the flow is easy, and stepping outside the norm can be uncomfortable, yet too often that discomfort is the price of true freedom. Remember folks like Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Harvey Milk, Susan B. Anthony, Fannie Lou Hamer, and Rachel Carson. Channel their energy, just like Bishop Budd, who in her sermon recently at the Washington National Cathedral's inaugural prayer service urged Trump to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared. The moment you set an example, the spell of the status quo is broken and others will follow. Lesson number 3, be as courageous as you can. We all have busy lives. In the midst of the dismantling of our democracy, we still have jobs, kids, grandkids, and a myriad of other responsibilities that require our time and attention. No one is asking you to devote all your time and attention unless you feel compelled to do so. But when you can be fully present in resistance like you are today, the message is loud and clear. Many folks who have never before attended a protest rally have marched the streets for the first time since this past January. Many people who have never attended a town hall or called and emailed their representatives are taking those steps. Let's continue recruiting people to this cause, getting the message out, giving others courage to join us. And beware, there may come a time when we need to up the ante. We might have to take to the streets at a moment's notice or participate in a general strike to rid ourselves of this tyranny and would-be king once and for all. Thank you so much.